Hello friends, welcome to Teri's Crafty Christmas collaboration event. There are about 35 collaborators in this collaboration, so please be sure to check each one of them out. There are 5 Facebook groups that are having drawings for prizes, so please go check those groups out as well. There will be lots of wonderful inspirational videos from December 1st through December 25th. So if you need some Christmas inspiration, be sure to check out everybody's videos. Hello friends, thanks for joining me for Teri's Crafty Christmas. Today I'm going to be using parts of a kit created by LineDotArrow. And the name of the kit is The Magic of Christmas. So what I did was I printed out the pages that I felt like I wanted to use for my project. So I'm sharing those pages with you now. What I'll be doing today is creating a folio. The folio will measure 4.5 inches by 7.5 inches. The first thing that I'm going to do is mark each one of these pages because I'll need to cut them to the proper size. When I printed these out, I tried to print them in the proper size so I didn't have to do a lot of cutting, and I did good as far as the height. It hits right at 7.5, so all I have to do is take off the white edge. But if we fold this in half, and let's cut off the edge real quick before we fold it in half. I think it's going to be wider than the 4.5, but let's find out. And while I'm cutting this, I want to mention to you that there are many collaborators joining in on this collaboration, so be sure to check out my description box because I'll have all of the details that you need so that you can follow along and even participate. And I do want to mention that Natalie was so generous and gifted these kits to everybody who is participating. There's another kit also, and some of the collaborators might be using both in their project. They could choose one or they could choose both. So let's go ahead and fold this right at the halfway mark and see. There we go, without my pressing it down all the way because I'm not sure that I want to do that right now. Yeah, this is definitely going to be wider than 4.5. It's about 5.25. So what I'll have to do, I'll go ahead and I will fold it now because now I know that I need to. And so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and take this and I'm going to mark this so I get it to 4.5 inches. This is pretty heavy duty cardstock that I'm working with. So I'm having to put a little bit of pressure down on these so I can get through both of them. That one I didn't quite get through, but I was able to bend it. Okay, so this is the shape and size of the folio that I want to do. You'll notice it's only one-sided, and that's because I'm going to use fabric as my hinge. And so the fabric's going to go in between, and then we'll be gluing them together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of these and I'll see you in just a minute. Now what we have to do is make sure that our hinges fit the same height of this. So I'm going to just take some nice cotton fabric and I'm going to cut them about, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 inches wide. All right, so you can see where I cut this right here. So you just have to have enough fabric so that it fits in between 2 of these pieces. And that is definitely plenty of it. And that way it kind of goes about this far into the card. You could do it even a little thinner if you wanted to. And then I don't cut, I just tear because that's easy. And now we just have to see how many of these strips do I need. I've got, so each of these, one is going to be a front and one is going to be a back. We've got 4 pieces. well, there's 8, but you know, 2 for each front and back. And then we've got 1, 2, 3 hinges. So now I'm going to measure and see if I can get 3 hinges out of one of these strips that I just pulled. But let's find out. Yep, actually we did 3 and we had a little bit left over, so that's perfect. I don't need to tear any more fabric. All right, so we did just like a quick check, but let's measure them out for real and make sure we got our measurements correct, and we're gonna go ahead and cut. So right here is the perfect spot to notch it. And I do tear. I could have cut all the way across. Obviously, you could tell that I could have done that. But I like to tear because I like the fringe around the edges. And though most of this will be covered, if any is exposed, I like to see that. Now I'm just going to pull the loose threads off and get rid of those. Usually those will go about 3 deep. So now we have our 3 hinges. I'm going to set this piece aside. We might use it as a tab or something like that, or even to make a coordinating cluster. We'll see. We'll just set it over here. All right, now I've decided this little image right here is so cute. So I'm going to have this be my front cover. And I guess before we start, you know, putting our hinges on, we need to decide how we want this folio flip to look. So definitely want that to be my front cover. And then when we flip it over, oh, I actually think just by chance that actually looks pretty nice together. I like the way that this color coordinates with the colors in here. So we'll leave that there like that. And then it'll be a Z. It's not going to flip exactly this way, but you get the idea. All right, so we're gonna have it like that, and it'll actually be a Z, but that's okay. It'll still flip this way. And then I think we'll do this next to this one. And so then this could be here. So it might be nice to end the book with this picture here. So it would be like this then. So we'd have that, and then flip, and then that would be the back of it. All right, now that we have our order decided on, we're going to go ahead and add our hinges now. So the first thing we need to do is add our hinge right here. Now you can use hot glue or you can use Fabri-Tac. Today and during this whole process, I'll be using a little bit of both. But for the fabric that's going to go in between these pieces, I'm going to go ahead and use the Fabri-Tac. I have used hot glue, but I just don't want anything to be lumpy. So that's why I'm going to use the Fabri-Tac. I should have put my wet glue down first. This is Aleene's Tacky Glue. Most of you have probably heard of it. I'm hoping my other glue doesn't dry. The Aleene's will hang, it won't dry real quickly, so I'll have to remember to do the Aleene's first and then do my Fabri-Tac. So just in case it started to dry, I'm going to add a little bit more. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and put the fabric here. I'm pressing that down. And now I'm going to add a little more Fabri-Tac over top of the fabric. Okay. And now I'm going to turn this over and place this down. And you can't see a lot on the fabric edge, but I can line it up right here on the paper edge. And there we have it. So I have a little bit of unevenness on the bottom, but I was going to say we'll deal with it later, but you know what? I think we're going to have to deal with it now, because if we don't and we put this whole card together, it'll be too hard. It'll just be too difficult. So let me get some clothespins in place to squeeze these two pieces together while they're drying. That will ensure that everything is drying in place the way that it is supposed to. I'm probably using more than I need, but I'm giving this away as a gift. So I want to make sure it's done properly. Okay, so that looks good. So what I was talking about was right here, and if it was only a little bit, I would just ink it up and not worry about it. But it's a little bit more than I would like, so I'm going to go ahead and use my scissors and see if I can straighten that out a little bit. And there goes my lovely fringed hinge, but that's okay. We have more. All right, that looks pretty good. And the great thing about inking is it does help us disguise some errors here and there when we need it to. So now I'm going to put one more clothespin down here just to hold this together. I'm going to give this a little squeeze. All right, so that's pretty good. So remember, this is our front. So when it opens, it's going to open like that. And then this, we're going to glue in between these two pieces. And remember, we like the way that this looks here. And then this will be the other side. So this next piece is going to go right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of the fabric glue on here. And I'm going to remove these. And then I'm going to flip this over. We'll just put this here to protect it when we flip it over. Make sure our table's clean. All right, and we're going to put this down like this. So we know that this is the next one that's going to go on. I'm going to check it for size before I glue it down. That looks pretty good. You need a little bit of space so that the hinge can work properly. You don't want the cardstock getting all up in the middle of it. So that's working really nicely, and I think that's going to be great. So I'm going to flip this over, and what we're going to do first, remember, is we are going to add our tacky glue first. All right, this piece is ready for our Aileen's it's Beacon 3-in-1. I'm using 3-in-1, and honestly, I have to say, 3-in-1, I think it's the same formula as Fabri-Tac. It's made by the same company. It feels the same, it smells the same. So, but let me know if you don't think that I'm right about that. Let me know. I think it might be. So now we're going to take this and we are going to add this. If you have a spatula or even a bone folder, anything like that, sometimes I use my scissors, to just press everything down and make sure the glues are attaching everything properly. And sometimes I use my spatula here. I feel like I can put a little more pressure when I use these because the spatula is soft and these are definitely not. So I like being able to put a lot of pressure there and make sure the glue is sort of getting smushed around. Now, I'd made a mistake and I want to share that mistake with you. So I needed to put another hinge right in here. So let's see if it's wet enough that I could get my hinge in there. And I've done this before in the past where when I forgot to do it. And okay, so we're going to make an external hinge. So let's go ahead and press that back down. And that's, that's the thing, is you can definitely make an external hinge. Before we move forward, I want to take a look and see how it is so far. So if this is our front cover, we've got this little guy, and that opens up like that. So our next page is going to attach to this one. And we had decided that we were going to put these two together. So I'm checking my sizes, and I noticed that this card is bigger than this card. So let me have a look and see what the situation is. I'm going to go ahead and trim some off of this card because I'd rather work with pieces that match. It's not so bad if it's like on the front cover, but if it's inside, it can create a sort of it gets bound up problem. So I'm just going to take a little bit off of here, and all I'm going to do is I'm grabbing my my paper cutter, and I'm going to put this on here, and I'm going to use this actual card as my guide. of how much I need to take off. So I'm going to pop that on there. Make sure everything is good and straight, and scooch it over. And it looks like if I hit it right here, I'll be able to take that piece off. Yeah, that's perfect. So on this piece, we're going to do one external hinge and one internal hinge. So before we do our external, let's go ahead so that we don't forget, and let's do our internal hinge. We'll just glue that on together, and it'll be on this side. Want to make sure, whoops, that glue is spread out really good, because I want these pages to be as flat as they can be, and that looks pretty good. Alright, and this one's going to go over top. So we're going to do our Aleene's Tacky Glue first. And now we're going to add some of our, well, it's 3-in-1, but I'm going to call it Fabri-Tac. You know what I could do, guys, actually? We could have an inside hinge on this one and the outside hinge on that. I'm going to do that. Okay, so let me add a little bit of, I hope that makes sense. Well, you'll see. So I'm going to add a little bit of our 3-in-1 right here. And then I'm going to add this here. Oops, is that my spare? Oh, that's my spare one. Okay. And now I'm going to add some on top, of course. Right, so now I have put this down. I want to make sure that I've got it placed correctly, and I actually got really lucky and did it right the first time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little pressure on here. Alright, so we've got our, this is going to be our external hinge, and this is going to be our internal hinge, and it's going to go in between these two. But before we get to that, let's decide how we want to do this. So we could attach it here. We're trying this on, but it goes over her, you know, quite a bit, although I could cut some of that off. And then if we put it on this side, I think it's a better fit to go on this side, but I still think I want to trim some off. It's a little bit big and it's covering, so either way it's covering something. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to see if I can tear it, but let's find out. Be careful with it. Okay, that was not difficult. Still plenty of fabric to put, you know, to be able to join it to this. And now let's try it out. So there, it's not so much. It could go on this side if we wanted it to, but also if we prefer, it can go on this side. And let's try that on for size. Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and put it on this side. How does that sound? All right, so what I'm going to do, since it's kind of a small amount, what I'll do is I'll just add a bead of this right here to this edge, and we'll press that down, and I can always add more if I need to. I got my bead of glue on there, and now we're going to set this down. So before it dries completely, I want to carefully flip it over. Yes, I think that looks great. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and just press that down. And then I think what we'll do, just for a little insurance policy, we'll take a small strip of fabric and we'll actually put it on the other side so that we'll have a hinge on the front and a hinge on the back. I'll feel more comfortable with that so that these pieces don't like lift or anything like that. Now we could use lace, or we could use some of this matching fiber, and actually I probably just tore some off that we could use. Oh, I don't see it here. Alright, I have a strip here. Let's try it on and see if it's too thick. It is not too thick. think it's perfect. We're going to go ahead and use this strip. So I'm going to put a bead of this glue right here and right here. All right, we got our bead of glue down. Now we're going to go ahead and attach our piece of fabric. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim that off because it's sticking up quite a ways. Now, to get the fringe look, I can go ahead and pull on some of these ends and maybe be able to grab some of those fibers out of there. All right, we have one to go. This will be the last one. And then we can start adding pockets and things like that. All right, friends, I put the clothespins around it so that while I was gathering up some other materials, it could just hold the papers down, let them settle in and dry. So the next thing is going to be doing some embellishing, adding pockets and flips and things like that. So I wanted to go through my stash and pick out some things that I thought might work with it. This is too bright of green, so we're going to go ahead and just put this aside. You can see that that is not going to work at all. So we're going to get rid of that one. But this is an off-white. I think that looks lovely with it. This was a piece that I had in my lace. I think that looks really nice because it's not a bright white. And then I had these just laying on my desk. They are off-white as well, so they might make their way into it. So this gold, I think, of course, would go very well with the colors in here. And I think that's what I've got. I do have a few more things. If I have to grab them, I will. But, oh yeah, and I forgot to show you this. I have some vintage seam binding, and it's a very, very deep, rich green. So we might use that as well. All right, well, let's get down to it. I think while I was digging around, it gave this enough time to dry, and, you know, the paper should be pretty flat, no edges sticking up or anything like that. And so this is what we've got so far. Okay, so it's right now an accordion folder, but we're going to add some flips to it now. All right, my friends, we are going to start with this side of our folio, and we've got right now these 4 panels. And I don't want to cover the beautiful images completely, so I want to think creatively. This one I definitely can add a belly band to. So we're going to go ahead and do that here. And I'm going to cut this now. Now I definitely want to be sure to add flips and things, but I think this is a great spot for a belly band. We'll do that. But before we get started on that, actually, I was just thinking I better go ahead and ink the edges, because once I start adding other parts to it, it's not going to be nearly as easy to do that. So, as you can see, there's a lot of edges. I'm going to do the edges on each panel, and I'll be right back. All right, we got it inked up, and now I am, oops, let's flip this over. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the belly band right here. While that is drying, we're going to think about flips. So I was thinking we could take a piece of this, cut it down, maybe even cut it down so that this still shows, and then attach it in such a way that it will flip up this way. And then it could be a spot for writing. So once we cut it to shape, we can embellish this side. And yeah, I think that's what we'll do here. So we know we need the width to be about right here. I'm going to mark that and cut it. I usually mark with my finger by just putting a little bend in it. We're going to check that and make sure that's going to fit. Yep, that looks good. So we're going to attach it with fabric, and that way it's going to flip up like this. But I do still think we should trim some of it. Let's see, maybe we'll trim it right here. Yeah, we'll do it there because I like the hot air balloon. And I also don't want to cut off Santa's head, so let me see how close I can get to Santa here. Okay. Alright, this is going to be our first flap right here. I like that, and then it'll go like this. So when we flip it up, we want whatever pattern that we want here to not be upside down. Well, I chose this sort of plaid. It's not really plaid, whatever this is. And I'm going to put this on the back, so it doesn't matter if it's upside down, clearly. And then we will attach that with some fabric. I'm going to glue these two pieces of paper together, and then I'm going to grab a piece of fabric, and I'm going to glue that to this small piece, and then also the rest of the fabric I will glue to the actual folio. Now, in hindsight, I could have sandwiched that fabric in between these two pieces of paper, and you will see me do that later on to another area of this folio. Alright friends, so I'm going to leave this tab open right now so that this part can dry. I don't want anything to get stuck together, but this is how it looks. I think that's a pretty cute flap. And so we have our belly band here, we have our flap here. We're going to need to decide what we're doing on these. I could do an upper pocket on this one right here, and then it wouldn't cover that beautiful image. Our tag or whatever we put in there will cover it, but it can be removed and then the image can still be seen. So what do we think about that? We could go ahead and cut this so that it fits right up in here, unless I have a better scrap. Let me have a look. If we used Santa right there, and then he was just right there in the corner. What do you think about that? Yeah, and then the star is showing. I think let's do that. We'll cut Santa right here. All right, we're not going to worry about tags for this or this right now. And I think we need to think about a flip flap for this. And I was wondering, we'll just use a blank piece of paper for now, just for sort of to make an example, to use as an example. We could have a flip that went like this. We could have one at the bottom. And I don't know which would be better. If we did one at the bottom, we could measure it so that these pieces didn't go over each other. Maybe that's what we'll do. And then that way when this thing closes, they'll be right next to each other, but they won't be bulky, you know? I think that works really nicely. So I'm going to mark the bottom of this so I know the size that we need to cut, that we need to look for. And remember, it'll go over here. Let me see about this paper. How does this look with that? I like that. I think I'm going to go ahead and use that. We can always embellish it with some of this other paper, but if this is our base, I think that's a really great start. So we know we need a piece of paper about the size of this where I took the bend to. Let's double check that. No, hold on. We want it to be, let's see, this height. Yep, so maybe let's focus on that first. We'll just cut this right here. Okay, that's the height. Now we're gonna decide on the width. So I am going to do that. I'm gonna bend right here. Yeah, and then what we could do is we could bring it down a little bit if we wanted to, so her face shows when the flip is up. And so I'll cut above, a little bit above that mark line that I did with my fingernail. Now I'm going to attach the piece of cotton fabric to the bottom of the page. And then I'm going to put a strip, make sure I got the right shape. Yeah, I'm going to put a strip along the bottom of this. And I'm going to put that on the bottom of this piece of cotton. All right, so each page here has something. This one has a flip. This one has a flip that I'm going to leave open because it's not dry. This one has a pocket, and this one has a belly band. So let's go ahead and flip it over and see what we're going to do on this side. Now this right here is our front, so all we're going to do is embellish that and make it pretty. For this side, this would be a great place for another flip, and we could have it flip this way because we don't want it to flip into the front, although I guess it wouldn't matter because it'll be like this. So we could do that. So we could have this flip here, and then we could do a flip on top right here as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and add those flips. All right, for this side, this is the cover, so we're not going to put anything on this except for embellishments. And I think over here we're going to do a flip. We'll do one that goes down, or actually we'll do one that goes to the side. And then over here we'll do another flip, and I'm not sure what we're going to do here. I'm going to stick with this scrapbook paper because it's cohesive, and I'm going to use these papers to make tags and maybe even to like cover the inset of the scrapbook paper. So just like before, we are going to just measure the size that we need, and then we'll cut that. And I just thought of something clever. Since we know this is going to be double-sided, what we might do is, remember how we did the hinges and the fabric was in between? I think we'll go ahead and do that on this one. It'll still attach on the outside, but I just think it'll be fun to do that. We're going to check and make sure that this fits, and it does. So let's go ahead and glue this on here, and just like the large pieces, we are starting with the regular glue, the tacky glue. And then we're going to add a bead of the Fabri-Tac. Make sure the corners meet up properly. Okay, and then I'm going to move this out of the way because I want to be able to press this down, and I don't want any glue to squirt out onto my project. All right, so we got that sandwiched in there, you see? So I love it. And now I'm going to take this and add a bead of glue right here, and then it should flip like that. So I just want to make sure I'm going to add the bead of glue in the right place, and I don't want it to get caught up in the hinge. So let's test it before we do it. Yeah, that's going to be perfect. We're just giving it a tiny bit of breathing room, if you will. And I think that's a great spot for it. So if I can just remember that it's over about 1/4 inch. Before we set that in place for good, let's test it. Make sure nothing's in the way. Okay, we are good. I think that's fantastic, actually. So now I'll press that down real good. I'm going to open it up and do the same. Lost my spatula. Here it is. That'll help move the glue to where I want it to be. There we go. I think that's going to be great. Cute. Cute, cute. All right, moving right along. So we had decided that we were thinking about doing another flip here, but I'm thinking actually I'm going to do an upper pocket here and a lower pocket here. I think this scrap piece will make a beautiful upper pocket, And I'm thinking about cutting it. I'll just cut it like right in half. This is heavy duty cardstock, so it does make great tags and great pockets. Very, very strong. And we'll put it right here, and we will go ahead and round our corner before we do. And also, let's go ahead and put a little ink around. I've been inking, I forgot to ink this one, but I've been inking the other ones. Once this dries, I'll go ahead and try to ink it. Is this the back cover? Hold on, this might be the back. Let me see. We might just do some embellishments to the back. Let me see. Let me get this guy up here. We might need to do a little Velcro there or something. Okay, so this is the back. So, I don't know that I want to do something that's going to get lost, like a tag falling out or something like that. So a good option in that situation is to do a side pocket like this. I could come in here with a thin strip of this, leave this image visible, make a side pocket, and then if we tucked something in there, the chances of it coming out are very slim. Or we can just leave it as the back, and we might do that. So with that in mind, let's go back here. With that in mind, we have some options. We could do this as the lower pocket right here. What do you guys think? I mean, I think it's okay. Let me see if there's any colors though that work better. Like this rich green actually might work better. So let's do that. It's not going to be a very big pocket, or I could save this to use as a tag. It's super pretty, isn't it? Let's see, this is pretty bright. What if I took this and I inked over top of it just to dampen down the brightness? Only because I love the brightness here, but this particular image isn't that bright. So if I just take this and like do just a little more inking on it, it might help it sort of fit a little bit better on this particular panel. All right, let's see. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great. I'm doing it one more time, sorry. I put a lot of pressure on that one. That's great, I love it. Okay. So that's a nice little trick. If you have something that's just a little bit too bright, you can go ahead and press it down on your ink pad and take some of that brightness out of it. So we're going to go ahead and adhere that right there. The ink's a little bit wet on it, so I'm going to be careful. I'll go ahead and press it down with my scissors. There we go. Very nice. Okay, now we're going to kind of get into the fun part, which is embellishing some of these things and making tags. So I think it's just a no-brainer to go ahead and use like one of these or one of these over the green, and I definitely think we'll go with this one. What do you guys think? I think that looks adorable. So let's go ahead, simply glue that down. We might end up going around that with that deep colored seam binding. We'll see though. That might be nice to sort of frame this. And then what's over here? Yeah, we could do, okay, but let's do one thing at a time. Actually, let me check out the seam binding situation. Now that I've said it, I won't be able to get it off my mind. I've had a stash of seam binding for a while now, and I haven't used it much. And lately, I've been really getting into using it, and I'm just kind of having fun with it. So this is a little bit wider than I'd like, so I'm thinking I can cut this to length, and then I'll just cut it in half. We'll see if it works. I have plenty, so if we mess it up, it's not a big deal. All right, let's check that out. Let's see if we like it. Yeah, I'm really happy to be using up my seam binding. Okay, so far so good. What do you guys think of that? I like it. And then we'll do 2 down the sides. That's good. Now the question is, do I want to use my Fabri-Tac or do I want to use my hot glue? I'm going to go for this. So far so good today. Me and this bottle usually argue with each other, but like I said, so far so good. Now, so it doesn't bleed through and like visibly, I'm going to go ahead and just spread that out a little with my finger, and I hope that that helps, but we will find out. All right, so now we'll go ahead and do the same on the sides. The sides, actually, we can go with the thicker because there's plenty of room, actually. So let me see if I got my cut right. I feel like I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. Okay. So let me take it off right here. Yeah, okay, that's gonna work. So I'm gonna put that down. I'll do the other side and I'll show you our results. I will embellish that some more later, but we're getting the basics done. I have this tag. It needs to be cut to size and all that, but I am ready to either put her here, or let's check the other side. We can put her in this upper pocket. I like the first one better, or the belly band. But I think I'm going to go with the first pocket. So for this spot here, you know, it's always tempting to add like a writing space, but I don't know what the person that I'm gifting this to is going to do with it. They can always add a writing space, but they might want to put a picture there or something. So I'm going to leave this as is. We'll do a little more embellishing here on the front. So let's move over to the back. So over here we have our two flips. We have this one, which is plain here, and then we have this one, which is plain on both sides. So let's see, we could add this embellishment like this one here because they're different, or I could add just something like this. I'm going to embellish with this, but the white is way too bright, so I'm going to do the same thing we did before, and I'm going to dip it into my ink pad. Don't want to get my fingers too inky, so I'm just using this on it. These are bigger, so I can use my fingers. Now, my friends, we need to decide on what we're going to embellish the cover with. So we have this very dainty trim here. Okay, then I have, well, I'll use this as an example. I have some trim with some gold in it, so it's white and gold. Kind of a bright white, a little bit brighter than anything else we have going on in here. If this was too plain, we might be able to double up with some of this gold trim. Let's see what happens when we do that. That looks nice right there. It really is quite the pop. I like the gold because it doesn't cover up the 25, so it doesn't take up a lot of space, but it really pops. So I'm thinking of going with the gold here. And just to jazz it up a little bit more, I'm thinking of adding this partridge here, and under the partridge, sort of maybe coming out this way and maybe this way, I'll use these two poinsettias. So we'll have a little bit of a layered effect, but it won't be excessive. Let me see if I can place the one under. I don't want to come off the page. We'll do this one here. Let's see how this looks. And then to give our partridge a little bit more character, We're going to do the same thing that we've been doing to a lot of the stuff we've had. We're going to pop him here on top of this and just press it down. And then at least it won't be plain. It'll have something on it. See how that looks. Oh, we need to do a little bit more. Yeah, I like that. It's got a lot more interest to it now. All right, friends, we are going to continue to work on the cover of the journal. I was going to cover, or not cover, but I was going to go around the edges with the gold, and then I saw this sitting on my desk, and I really liked that even more. So I went around the edges on the front and the back, and I didn't do it on camera because my disc got full. I don't record with my phone, I record with an actual camera. So my disc got full, and so I just wanted to finish the trim and then figured I'd just come back and show you guys what I did. So here I am putting a little piece of fabric in the corner, and over that we're going to put one of these green buttons. I went ahead and I sanded the back of the button, and we're going to use gem tack to glue this on. Oh no, I thought I was missing my spatula, but then I found it. So we're just going to take a little piece of this. This is, my gem tack is almost out. I did buy a new one, but I figure I'll use as much of this as I can anyway. So I keep it upside down, and that way I can just go in with my spatula and grab what I need. It's past the phase of being runny, so I don't need to worry about that at all. All right, so we got the other one done, and then I figured I'd go ahead and do some more, but I wanted to just try something on for size. So here's what we have so far, and we could just go in and put our other green buttons, and I'll do that real quick so you can have a look at it. So that's a thought, and then that cover would be complete. Or I was thinking it would be possible to add this pretty square doily. Well, it's almost a diamond shape, honestly. It's definitely not a perfect square. But I thought we could add that just for an extra layer of interest. And I think it looks pretty cool. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's see, my hot glue gun is not warm right now, so I will go ahead and use my 3-in-1 for that. I'm going to move this over here and put this down. There we go. Now then we'll go ahead and add our other buttons. Let me put this away and we will get back to our gem tack. The gem tack is white, but it does dry clear, which is wonderful. So if there's a little bit around the edges, it won't show up. Now sometimes if there's too much, I'll do my best to remove it, but just so that you know, it doesn't really show up. At the time of this recording, I'm in Florida, and it's still hot. And so many of my friends are getting some cool weather, and I'm truly happy for you guys, but I'm also very jealous. I can't wait for some cool weather. I'm just, it feels like to me it's been a long summer. All right, we got those on, and now I'm thinking we could do something like add this vintage button. Now this vintage button does have a back. That might not be the best choice, but we could sure add this little red one. That might be cute. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, I'm loving this so far. All right, friends, I got interrupted by a phone call, but I wanted to keep crafting, so I did some of the embellishments without you guys. So as I flip through this entire project, I'll just point out what I did. So as you can see on the front cover, we've got our trim all the way around. We added some buttons and this sweet square or diamond-shaped doily. Then when we open this up like this, I added, you can see trim here and here, and then I added a little brad, and I think it looks so cute there. So we can lift this up. I'm going to pull this down so you can see that. And we've got a little flower here. we used all fabric for the for all of the hinges. So on this side I added a fabric tab and a red flower, and so we can open this up, and let me pull this down so you can see it. And I added this little tree with I put the stamp pad on it so it wasn't so bright white. And then here's our beautiful angel, and then we flip this. And I added trim here, I added a pocket up here, and then here is a pretty tag. Did a little stenciling here. Over here we have a belly band, and we have a nice big tag, and I actually cut this piece out from another piece of paper that was a printout of the kit, and I added it to the tag. And actually looking at the belly band, we could add a little something right here to the center. I added a nice gold leaf up here in the corner, but let me see if we have a little something that we can add real quick. I'm thinking maybe one of these poinsettias would be nice. They are 3D, but they're flat enough, I think. So let me just add, when I have these things that are 2 layers, I like to add a little spot of glue in between the layers. That way over time, if the stickiness of the puffy sticker, if that gets weak, there's the hot glue that's going to hold that over time. And then we've got this side. Oh yeah, I took the other thing off. I'm going to add hot glue around that just because I don't totally trust the stick on there. I'm not sure how good that is. Is this 2 stickers I've got going on here? I feel like it is. Oh, it is. Hold on, let me pull this one off. That's so funny. I thought it was 1, but then realized it was 2. So we'll put this right here in the center. I think that looks really sweet, and the lighter color sort of pops off the page, so I like that. So here we are. This is the back cover. You can see I did trim all the way around and added our green buttons. I think that looks nice. And here we have a pocket. Also dipped this pocket in my stamp pad just to make sure it wasn't too vibrant. Our beautiful angel, this beautiful tag, and then this sweets tag, which was in my stash. That was given to me in Happy Mail. And you can see I added the seam binding, and then I put a brad through it. Doesn't that look nice? It's such a finishing touch, and then we know for sure that that fabric isn't going to come undone. It won't come untied. So I kind of like that. I'll probably try to remember to do that in the future. And then over here on this side, this flips open this way, but before we do, went around it with the seam binding, added this little cut apart, and then these pretty flowers. And then we can flip this open, and you can see that there are some flowers here, space for writing or adding a photo, whatever you want. And then this beautiful print from the kit. And then here we are back at the front cover. We're going to stand it up so that you can see. Here is our accordion, and I absolutely love it. I used extra heavy-duty cardstock, so this is very sturdy, and I just love the way that it turned out. Friends, I hope you enjoyed it too, and I hope you will please be sure to check everybody out that's in the collaboration. I'm really looking forward to seeing what everybody makes. Thanks for watching. See you soon.